The Chiefs gave you a hard pill to swallow for Super Bowl 59, and they come up short. We're going to tell you exactly why and where they go from here. That's coming up next. All is not lost, Chiefs Kingdom. Don't go away here on RGR Football. Welcome back in, everybody. Tough night. I know you're all pissed off, sad, upset, and confused. That's all right. So are we, and we're going to do this together. First off, you can't take anything away from the Eagles. Give them the congratulations that they deserve because they took care of everything they needed to do to get it done. We're going to go through everything. This is our normal postgame. Dan and I are going to break it down. We're going to go through my notes. We're going to do everything. This comes down to one thing, and I just want to say this right off the top. You've been here before. And so has this organization. Brett Veach swore they'd never let this happen again to Patrick Mahomes, and they did it again. And that's why they lost this ball game. We're going to go through it step by step, and that's going to be that. I'm Ryan Tracy, resident raving lunatic for the run game, which was non-goddamn existent tonight. And then this is Dan Harms, who's going to actually speak truth to you in a way that isn't so angry. And I'm sorry I cussed already. So for family show folks, my apologies.
That's not going to happen, by the way.
I will tell you this. People at my house are confused and bewildered, and half of them were Eagles fans. My friend group is pretty diverse, and it was just a game that didn't make sense because they literally did everything we said they couldn't do to get a win. They abandoned the quick game that worked so well against the Bills. They abandoned the run game that would have got you some kind of relief for Patrick Mahomes. And they did the number one thing that they did back when they played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They assumed that what they'd done to this point would get it done in the Super Bowl, and they're absolutely wrong. There's a lot of blame to go around here, Dan. If that doesn't cover it for you, what stood out as job number one?
Again, execution, guys. Sorry, my daughter got me sick, as you can tell. I'm losing my voice, but we're gonna power through. I'm gonna drink some tea, but overall, I'm pulling a nice little Seth Kaiser right there for you guys. But overall, you don't get to go through a game like this where your game plan is to not run the football and then not execute the quick game plan, because they had a couple of drops, they had a couple of problems early on, and were unable to get those first downs. And when you did that, combined with abandoning the run, I think they had 3 runs in the first 2 quarters. 3. When you do that, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. You had no creativity in the run game either. There was nothing. They didn't run a screen until it was 17-0. We told you guys how aggressive they were being with their defensive line. We knew they weren't going to blitz. 0 blitzes in this football game. 0. Again, if you guys watch the game plan, we told you this is what they're going to do. And this is exactly what they did, and it felt like they weren't prepared for it. So again, you have the Eagles executing their game plan to perfection. The Chiefs defense executed the game plan to near perfection. You forced Jalen Hurts to be awesome. He was awesome a few times a game, but also they were exhausted because you have 1 first down in the first half. So if you can't execute that point, that's what it is. And then you compound all of the issues with your offensive line by letting the Eagles lean into what you can't do.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what it comes down to every time. Folks, if you want to rant, if you want to let loose, go ahead. We're going to answer all the super chats, positive, negative, or otherwise, so get them in there. We are going to go through our notes as well. And the first thing I'm pulling up right now is I want to show you something that Dan just covered, because it is uber important, because I am going to be a defense and a Spagnuolo apologist for the next 6 months until they are back on the field, because the one stat that I am pulling up right now is right down here. Time of possession. The defense was on the field for more than 36 minutes, nearly 37, 2/3 of the game almost. It gets to the point where you just can't hold up. Yes, did they give up a couple of big plays? Yes. They got there after they had been run down by short fields. There were exactly 2 Eagles drives that produced points that had to go more than 50 yards. That's it. The offense put the defense in a position they just couldn't sustain. And you can complain about Trent McDuffie. You can be upset with Jalen Watson, who I thought made a heck of a play trying to recover and get his hand in there. there's just so much they can do when they're constantly getting berated over and over. And as soon as they go get a breather, they're back on the field because you turn the ball over again. That cannot happen.
Where was the diamond formation? We didn't see it once in this game. We didn't see it at all. We saw no creativity. Like, that was the thing. They got to this point by being a little bit more creative against the Texans. They brought out different runs. That split zone run we talked about, where they had Xavier Worthy jet motioning at the same time. There was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. So yes, I think if they would have gotten their mojo going, maybe you see them get a first down, you break it out, but you're not getting those. So what do you need to do? You need to start doing something a little bit more creative. If you're having trouble moving the football, get into some of the things that make it easy on yourself. And they didn't do it. And then Patrick, dirting footballs, just dirting them. Like, I don't know. Like, he's got, I know this is going to be a thing. I'm just going to get out in front of it. Yes, he's had interceptions in every single Super Bowl. They've played some fantastic defenses. I think he pushed one of them. Actually, both of them were just, he missed guys. So he just missed them. He didn't see the defender underneath kind of lurking there and waiting for them to do it. So also, it doesn't help when he's constantly sped up. So all of those things, they came into, again, hats off to the Eagles. When they realized that the Chiefs were just going to throw the football, they said, fine, that's exactly what we want you to do. And then they just took it out on them.
Yeah. 3 called runs at halftime. 3 called runs.
Yep.
Completely unacceptable, especially when you understand the fact that your protection is getting destroyed, not by finesse, not by scheme, by straight up bull rushes to the chest that you cannot combat. Period. There is nothing. And this is not to lay it at the feet of Joe Thuney. The Chiefs screwed around and left Joe Thuney out to dry because they refused to change their plan. We've been talking about Joe needs to go back to guard for the last 3 weeks because it was just too much to allow him to be out there. And they still didn't even change it up during this ball game. Caliendo, with that last play that got destroyed and led to another turnover because he's just overmatched. It's not the players, in my opinion, that cost him that. It's the fact that you didn't follow through with a left tackle plan from the beginning of the season. You just thought it was going to keep coming along. And then when you did get one, and I don't know if DJ's broken, maybe DJ Humphries can't literally run. I have no idea.
I don't know.
But you didn't do enough to correct the issue, and you thought you had it. And the bigger thing is when you know all those things underneath, and they didn't run the same game plan or a similar game plan that included the run game and the quick game, getting the ball out fast to protect the tackle like they did against the Bills, that worked. That is the problem. And, Coach, I hope you see this. Coach Reed, Coach Nagy, all of you. Everyone still supports you. This whole channel, me, Dan, we're still there. Sometimes you need an outside perspective. Give me a call. I will tell you, sometimes you're too deep in the book because you just can't see the forest for the trees. You made this harder on yourselves, period. The staff made decisions that led to this situation.
Start running other things that other teams run in terms of their run game. Get duo. Start running crunch. If you're going against an defensive line that's going to be aggressive, use it against them. They didn't use it against them once in this football game. Not once. Yeah. And then when they tried to run a screen, everyone knew it was coming. Everyone did. Yep. I could have told you that, Piron's on the field. Guess what? Look for a screen. No, you throw it to Pacheco. Throw it to Kareem Hunt early in the football game. They didn't do any of that. And then, like I said, when you don't execute those quick passes early on and you tell the Eagles that you're just going to throw the football, like, it just makes everything worse. So the offensive line wasn't great, and all of it isn't their fault. Mike Caliendo shouldn't be in that position. He just shouldn't be.
No,
like exactly. That's part of this is on Andy too. So I'm not going to complain too much about left tackle. They tried to solve it with 2 young players. One, they may have screwed up. They clearly don't believe in Wanya Morris anymore because he was benched for good. He was benched for good. Patrick Mahomes benched him for forever. He was inactive. So that's not a tackle prospect for you. You put yourself in this hole. Like we talked about before the season started, you needed to bring a veteran in. If not to mentor these guys, to have somebody there just in case this went to shit. And guess what? It went to shit on you in the Super Bowl once again. And yes, I was overconfident too. I thought that they would come with this plan to get the ball out quickly, to be more creative in the run game, and to, like I even mentioned, crunch in the game plan, like to try something different, and they didn't do it.
And it is frustrating for a team that is so winning. Now, let's be real. This team has made history on the positive side because they're the first one to go 3 times in a row. Obviously, not sealing Deal is going to leave a bitter taste. Thank you, Casey. We appreciate you. And we appreciate you guys for all you do to being here for us. Let me add this back because I want to take a look at the top things. Obviously, the deja vu factor. This is exactly what happened against the Bucs.
Yeah.
Because you weren't prepared for the offensive line. Mahomes cannot function in a vacuum. He must have protection like any other quarterback. Yes, he's magic, but you can't rely on it. Yes, they put up some plays late. And I won't even say that Fangio backed off because they were still coming hard. They were still rotating in the secondary. I still saw those things. But you live by the magic and you die by the magic. And sometimes when Patrick is too flustered, he puts the ball in bad spaces, and that happened tonight multiple times. We told you also in the game plan, you cannot lose the turnover battle and still come away. There's just no way to overcome that. Any team that makes it this far is too good. That's the bottom line. Now, I also want to bring up this at this point because this is partially on Veach as well. He promised they'd never put Patrick in that position again, and yet here they are again. This is going to be a conversation for the next, I don't know, when's camp open? 7 months? 6 months. Because it's going to take that long to sort out. It has to be multiple layered because despite knowing that this was an issue when you played the Bucs, despite knowing that you had to have multiple layers of protection for him, you let yourself get whittled down. You weren't aggressive enough. And maybe part of it is being aggressive in free agency just isn't enough. Maybe people don't want to sign with you. You have to change that. Whatever that is, you have to change that. So there's a lot there. Second, you didn't do what you had to do and what got you into this game, the quick game, the run game. We've already covered that. Joe was just faced with an athletic and honestly it does go back sometimes to arm length. And the tools that you bring to the fight, sometimes you just don't have enough. He was left out there in a position that he couldn't overcome. Caliendo the same way. It just took a little bit longer to really show up there. Then number 4, you didn't attack the things that you had to do. We didn't see passes over the middle for the longest time. Magically, you start throwing slants. You start throwing drags and things start working as we had kind of put out. Now, the secondary was backed off a little bit more then because what do they have to lose when they've got 37 points on the board, right? And I wanted to go through those 4 because the thing that we haven't talked about yet and the thing that I'm excited to hear you specifically speak on, because we were very, very excited the day that Xavier Worthy was drafted. And I think we still should be because he was the lone guy that was able to put something together. And nothing against Hop, and I know Hollywood had a couple of catches there, but Xavier showed that he can still evolve and he could fight through what he was getting. That last pass was something that we expected to see all season long, right? The over-the-shoulder catch through contact, doing all that. I know this sucks right now, but the future is still bright because of that.
It is. And I think that when you go back and watch the Eagles defense, when they play their quarters coverage, I think the Chiefs thought they could throw the ball deep on this team. And I think that they could. Problem is when you don't execute your quick game, when your install is let's look for a deep ball. Like they tried on the very first or second drive, they tried. They did that play action pass where they brought the offensive lineman over. They had Patrick roll out to his left a little bit, and then he wanted to throw deep. So they kind of showed their hand a little bit there. They didn't just try to matriculate the ball down the field like the Eagles want you to do to lull them to sleep. This was they tried to come out and attack, which, okay, fine. I'm okay with that. But then you have to adjust. You have to adjust. So Xavier Worthy fought through. That catch was awesome. Both catches were fantastic. He played a very unique role where, he caught everything basically that was thrown to him, and he ran out routes. He ran from the backfield a couple of times, which we told you in the game plan you're probably going to see. Didn't see that enough either. But overall, what you saw from Xavier Worthy to end the season should be what every Chiefs fan should hang their head on right now. The development. Everyone was like, he's just going to be a go route guy. And early in the season, he was. But what happened after that Bills game? Evolution. They used him in a ton of different ways. They actually developed his route tree. And in this game, you saw it all. You saw he ran, just a clear out route to the end zone, comes back to the football, comes back to it. Patrick throws it to him. It's a touchdown. He flares out of the backfield. He has an out route. Like it's all coming together for him. And I know it's not what you want to see, But that's what the Chiefs have been unable to do for the longest time at wide receiver. They've been unable to develop young talent. They have two legitimate talents at wide receiver right now. Drafted one in the first round, one in the second round. Now it's time for them to go back to the drawing board and fix the offensive line, because you're not retaining Smith. You're not doing it. You're not going to be able to do that. So overall, you have to go figure out what you're going to do there, what you're going to do at tackle, because what you saw in this game when Patrick had time was Xavier Worthy getting open deep multiple times. And if you go back and watch the game back, which I'm going to do again, you're probably going to see him open a lot more downfield than Patrick was able to get him the football.
Right. Yeah. People are going to be angry at Patrick. And I'll tell you, I still believe, especially through this, when he had time, what he was able to show, he is still the GOAT at this point. In fact, we got a special piece of merch dropping tomorrow that is specifically about that, because I still feel that way. So I'm pushing it. If y'all want to jump on it, get some, because it's going to be here for a while. And those that disagree, they can come argue. I'm right here. It's going to be a difficult road. And to Dirty's point, 5 Super Bowls. 5 Super Bowls. Yes, we need to calm down a little bit. It was that opportunity to cement yourself as the best franchise in history. And that's not there. You go back to another one, we're still having that same conversation. So we're still in there. I do want to say Xavier was perfect. 8 targets, 8 receptions, 157 yards in the 2 tuds, doing everything that he possibly could do. We know there's going to be something going on with Rashee Rice. We don't know the extent of it, but that duo sets them up for the future. You're absolutely right, Dan. You have to double down and build the protection, rebuild the protection. We have a lot of questions this offseason. We will get into all of it. Right now, we're going to get into your questions. Jordan, not securing LT and rolling the dice on a rookie to start the year ended up being a horrendous mistake, but losing in this fashion goes much deeper into the team and offensive units, and that was no way prepared. I'll disagree with you only in the slightest bit. It's a very good point, and thank you for the support. I honestly feel that they were over-prepared. I think they whittled the playbook down too far because they didn't have enough adaptations to go to, is what it felt like to me. The whole first half, I was waiting. Go to the slant game. Go get quick. The running backs had 7 carries for this entire ball game.
Yeah.
So that just felt like they whittled the playbook down too much, in my opinion. Now, maybe I'm crazy, but that's just the feeling that I got. Do you disagree?
No, not really. Again, it felt like they wanted to attack deep, and then they just kind of like zoned in on it. And they were just like, we're just going to keep doing this. We're going to keep going back to it. It happens sometimes. Like, I get it. Not one draw play either.
Yeah. Not that
if you're going to be facing a defense, I'm going to go back. I'm going to keep saying this all night long. If you are facing a defense that is going to tee off on you, hit them with the draw play. You have to. If you don't do anything but drop back, what's to stop them from doing exactly what they did? Nothing. Like it boggles my mind that we can sit here on Friday, give you guys what the Chiefs can't do, what they should do, and how they can get creative, and then watch that game unfold and say, what were you guys watching all week? 2 weeks, right? Like, what were you doing? I will say, I think that if they would have executed some of their plays a little bit better, maybe it turns out a little bit different. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know that for sure because we didn't get to see it. But as soon as Patrick threw that pick to end the first half, the game was over. It was over. And even before that, mentally, offensively, they couldn't move the football. Like, they couldn't do anything. So when you don't execute your own game plan and then you just lead into it, I don't know.
I mean, I'm just looking at the plays and yards in the second quarter. They had 5 drives because of the interceptions in the second quarter. They had 3 plays for 7 yards. They had 3 plays for -6. They had a second drive of 3 plays for -6. They had 1 play that went to the interception. They got 0 yards out of that, and they had 3 plays for 9 yards on the last possession of the first half. This is a refusal to adapt, or, as I said, too narrow preparation, so you didn't have the install enough that you could vary. When Fangio did things that got the better of you. First time Vic Fangio's beaten Andy Reid's offense. First time. You didn't have the counterpunch. That's the problem. So, Jordan, I appreciate your support. Thank you very much for being with us and the super chat. And you're right. It goes way beyond just Joe. And I fear personally that tomorrow and the next day that people are going to blame Joe Tooney. It's not his fault. Yes, he didn't perform the greatest, but he was put in a position he shouldn't have been in. And we've been telling you that for weeks and weeks and weeks. We just don't know the answer. So thank you, buddy. And thank you, Green. Patrick had in every Super Bowl. Yes. And he has been able to overcome. You're right. Like I wasn't nervous until the DeJean interception. And honestly, even then I was like, okay, 17, this is livable. I was not to the point where I was like, no, it's over. I still had faith in the third quarter, but it just didn't materialize.
I'm going to say something that's going to garner a lot of maybe agreeance, maybe hate from you. Patrick Mahomes has had to overcome Andy Reid in every single Super Bowl he's played in. Every one. Every single Super Bowl. They have been down in the second half of football games, every single Super Bowl that they played in. And they're 3-2. And their offense struggles every single Super Bowl to start. I'm going to say this one time, Andy, and I hope you're listening. No offense to Matt Nagy, get him out of the building. Get all of your familiar offensive people, personnel, your buddies, get them out and bring in young, creative minds. This has to end. It has to end now because you want to keep coaching, and I think you should keep coaching. But when it comes down to it, right now in the Super Bowl, you yourself are costing this offense by not letting young people come in and help change your offense and give you different ideas and innovate. You do the same stuff every single year. Your run game has 0 change-ups. 0. It needs to change.
Yeah.
Something has to change. They've been great, and I don't think this is a make or break like dynasty or anything like that. But overall, the offense needs to have something different because each Super Bowl we see the same thing. Defenses come in and they shut their ass down for an entire half, and Patrick Mahomes has to overcome it every time.
Yeah, it's tough. And I will say there's execution portion of that as well. But again, that goes back into the preparation and the planning. And that's got to come from the staff. I think things get a little too rote. And Andy's generally good with the extra rest and, coming off the bye or whatever. That doesn't necessarily compute for the AFC Championship to the Super Bowl weeks. It's not the same thing. They can't lose a close game. It's always a blowout. Yes. Yeah, Green, you have a very good point. Comfortable and tight ones. But when they got down, I will give them credit. Nobody quit. The defense was hitting to the last stand. Special teams crushing.
Hats off to the defense right now. Like, can we just get a round of applause? Those guys had a fantastic game plan for Saquon Barkley, and they executed. They tackled very well. And again, like you said, Jalen Watson, he got beat by Devontae Smith. The effort to nearly get a hand on that football. I know he scored a touchdown, but if that's like half a second difference, we're talking about an incompletion because he's able to get his hand there. Like, just the effort was awesome.
It's nuts. Saquon Barkley, 2.3 yards per carry tonight. A total of 57 on 25 carries. The defense did its job as best it could until they just got wore out. To tell you the truth, it just becomes that part of, oof. The last one, wasn't happy with the last score to A.J. Brown. That one bothered me more than anyone because it was so tight to the quarter where they usually rise up. Maybe they could have stemmed the tide if they'd done a little bit there. That's the only thing that I could look at the defense and be like, hey, you guys came up short there.
Yeah, I agree.
Other than that, stand out. Daryl, thank you, buddy. It's good to see you. Well, that hurt. Tell me something good. Well, I don't think anybody got hurt. Xavier Worthy showed that he can be the next standout. We'll see what happens with the Rashee Rice. And your team showed some spine. They got kicked in the face. They got just demolished, and they came back for more. Mahomes on the bench, they kept showing that shot, right? With his head up. There's no depression. There's no hanging their heads. You are a champion. You played like you held yourself like a champion, though you didn't play like one today. And I think that is something you should be happy about.
Yeah, just overall, I mean, it's tough to feel. I know this one hurts a lot of people, but it's hard for me to be upset about the team going forward when they've been to 5 Super Bowls. Like, they've literally been to 5 of them. I know they're 3-2 in Super Bowls, but we talked about how many games they've played over the last 5 years. 100 football games in 5 years. I mean,
It's epic.
that's hard to do. That's why this has never been done before. The fact that they won 2 Super Bowls in a row and got back to a third one in a row, that's never been done before. Winning 2 and getting back to it. I know there was a Bills fan in here talking about how they got to 4. Like, the Bills fans in here just lamenting this are hilarious, y'all. Get out. You can't even beat Mahomes. Come on, get out. Don't worry about it. But overall, something good is that this team has figured out ways to overcome adversity in the regular season to get through to the Super Bowl multiple times, 5 again. And they have 3 with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. He's about to turn 30 years old. So, like, the good thing is that, yes, while they lost this football game, it's still a dynasty. It is still what every team strives to be. Look at everyone celebrating. Every single fan base on Twitter, on everywhere. All they're doing is celebrating the demise of the Chiefs. It's not the demise. It's a loss. No. It's not the demise. It's a loss. But every single fan base is celebrating. That's the good thing. Everybody wants them to fail, and that will fuel them to continue to get better.
Yeah, I agree. And it's cool to see the ex-Chiefs come back. I was really happy to see Colin Saunders and his viability down there. Colin, come home. I'm just saying. XRP, proud fan. It's time to clean house with Bolton and Smith. I wouldn't call it cleaning house. I just don't think you can afford Smith. And I don't know if Nick's not going to get a better offer than what you can pay him. That's kind of where I sit right now tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you. And you have to just, if he's going to get overpaid, you can't overpay for a guy who can't cover. The reason that A.J. Brown, I mean, I don't know if he's in man coverage on him. All I know is that multiple times the Eagles got like crossing routes in front of Drew Tranquil and Nick Bolton where they just freed up.
It. Yep.
They just ignored them. Like, you can't do that.
No. And that is, again, the Eagles doing a very good job of scouting. They put their rules against them, much like the Chiefs did to them last time. So, hey, kudos to them. They've been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years as well. Yeah. So you got to give them credit where credit's due. And I'll continue to do that. I know a lot of people won't, but Chiefs I was sad at halftime. I don't know what I am now. Well, keep your chin up. It's not the end of the world. The sun's coming up tomorrow, and they'll get back to it. The golden age of Chiefs football is not over. This is another shortcoming. And again, I think it's the same lesson they should have learned last time, and it's going to be a tougher road. I expect some drastic changes about the way that they approach building the offensive line.
Look at what the Eagles do. They in the first or second round of every draft, it's an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman. Now, they've been able to get multiple first or second rounders because of the way that they've operated. They have an owner that is willing to let them spend a ton of cash and let them do whatever they want to, essentially. The Chiefs are a little strung by that. They don't have the owner is not really willing to let them just kind of cut it loose and do whatever they want to. They have some constraints to that as well. So the Chiefs need to be a bit better at identifying their first round tackle situation, which they still have not taken one since Eric Fisher. They haven't done it since Eric Fisher. It's just they haven't done it. So that's another problem too. If you're not consistently drafting offensive linemen in the first, second round and finding ways to trade players to get more draft capital or just throwing assets at the wall on the offensive line, you're going to find yourself in the situation. And they do it consistently. And that's why the Eagles, when Jason Kelce retired, they said, hey, Cam Jurgens, you're going to play center. And if Cam Jurgens gets hurt, hey, Landon Dickerson played center in college. Guess what? Go play center. They have a funnel lot. They have a line. Now, they also hit on Jordan Mailata, who was.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a chance they took.
Yeah, when you hit on an undrafted or 7th-round player that was never played football before, cool. Like, okay, that's awesome. You get lucky in that regard. And then the Chiefs took a swing on Juwan Taylor, who's been good. I know everyone talks about the penalties, but other than that, he's been good. He's been fine. I don't think he played terrible in this game. I don't think he played awesome. I think he was just fine. And fine when you have 2 players at the left side of the offensive line that are struggling is not good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. We have like 30 super chats, so we are going to start getting to them, folks. As we want to say, there is still upside. Yes, this is a tough loss. It's hard to see them come up short after all that work and all that struggle this season. But they're going to make some changes. They have to because of the cap. And I do think they were going to be competitive for years and years and years. Mahomes is going to hold this one against everybody. I think this is going to be a problem. He's going to have a fire I don't think we've seen yet after this. Mr. Pena, nice to see you. Thank you for the support. Veach needs to rebuild the O-line and bolster the D-line right now. I agree. Like, I would like another edge out there that can actually be productive across from George so that Chris has a little bit more freedom. I didn't think they moved Chris around as much as I thought they were going to. But again, it wasn't the D-line, and honestly, it wasn't the defense overall that was the issue here. It was being put in bad situations. So thank you. We appreciate you there. Brazilian, this game plan by the Chiefs made 0 sense. But go Chiefs. Thank you, Jose the Cuervo. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
If you're Veach, what is your top 5 list in the offseason? Trades, releases, signings, et cetera, et cetera. Dan, what's your go-to? What do you got to get done as of now?
Well, I don't know where the situation is with your left tackle. First of all, in terms of the guy you drafted to be left tackle, who then you effectively, again, in my opinion, ruined his confidence. What are you going to do about that? Is he going to play guard for you going forward? Is he going to play tackle? You have to figure out that, but you have to bring more bodies into the offensive line. When you don't have depth, you're screwed anyway. Mike Caliendo was fine. He played worse than Nick Allegretti did last year. Nick Allegretti helped them win a Super Bowl. If they maybe had Nick Allegretti in this game, do they fare better? Yeah. Do I still think they lose? Probably, but they probably fare better, and they can probably run the ball a little bit better. Mike Caliendo is a pure pass protection guard. He is not a run blocker at all, in any way, shape, or form. You need to get bigger on the offensive line. You need to get more physical. And you have talked about this. We have mentioned it this year. This is a finesse offensive line. Even with the guys that they've drafted and they brought in, it's finesse. They just got like steamrolled by a physical, long defensive line. Big physical defensive line. They got steamrolled because they couldn't move anybody and they couldn't run the football. Also because they put themselves in that situation by not being prepared along the offensive line. And it felt like they just fell into that crevice of Patrick will break us out like he always does.
Right. It's too much reliance and not enough help for him to allow him to do that.
I'm sorry I didn't answer, Travis. Like top 5 is I haven't thought that far ahead yet.
Honestly, I think there's a couple of retirements you got to find out if they're going to happen. One of them was at left tackle tonight. I'm not certain what the future is right now. It's going to take some decompression for a bit. But thank you, Trevor. Brosifus, thank you. If Kelsey doesn't want to come back in shape next year, I don't want him back. Lack of focus across the board from him. Save $17 million and buy an offensive tackle. I cannot disagree with you. I mean, I cannot agree with you. Like, you want Travis a little bit more focused, yes. But if he's going to play again, I want him back. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Who says he's not focused? Please, no offense, Brosifus, stop speaking to mentalities of players that you don't know. You don't know. Travis Kelce is one of the players that is the most locked in every single year. Last year, he was so locked into the Super Bowl, he shook Andy Reid a little bit. Get me the football. Please, no offense. Like, just stop going at these players' mindsets. Because everything that I have ever seen reported last night, Travis Kelce once again was not only moved emotionally, giving that post-game speech. Everybody was too. He is locked in. Okay. He's just getting a little bit older and he's still great. He's not even that out of shape. He's just getting older. So please, I'm telling you, it's for your own benefit. These are NFL players. Okay. Travis Kelce could get up off of his couch next week and probably go do crazy things. Okay. They're NFL players. He's not out of shape.
I would like to see him redouble down, though. I want him back, and I want him to rededicate a little bit, because I think if he can make a couple of changes, he can really end with a flair and play another couple of seasons where he is better than this season was for him. That's how I feel. This 100 games, I think it shows up on no one more than Travis Kelce. The 100 games in 5 seasons. It's just crazy. Brother Rick, I wonder how Donovan Smith is feeling. That's a fair point, Rick, and thank you for pointing it out. We were pretty adamant about should have brought him in early in the season, should have brought him in. Now, maybe he wasn't able to play. He did have that stinger recurring issue. It's a nervous thing.
Yeah.
It zaps not only your comfort, it is hard to play with, but it zaps your strength. And it was down his left side, as I understand. So, maybe he just wasn't physically capable. I'm not sure. But you had to figure out. And what I'm most concerned about is that if DJ Humphries did recover from the hamstring and we just never saw him again, that was a tactical error. Mm-hmm. And one that we talked about over and over and over. And I've been saying it since day one. A tackle needs to be at a tackle.
Yeah. You can't put your eggs in an injured tackle barrel. You can't do it. You just can't do it. And the Chiefs, again, they thought they were fine. You never should think that you're fine with a bunch of young players. Again, I thought that they were going to be able to develop Kingsley much better. Again, I'm not, I do this. I'm learning as much as anybody else is that I possibly can. But overall, I'm still learning a lot too. But I'll tell you this, I don't think they helped him at all. I don't think they helped him in the slightest. I think that they destroyed his confidence. And then after that, what is he going to do? But overall, they came into the season with 2 young players at left tackle. They're going to compete for it. And then when Monty Morris got hurt, should have been their first sign. When you get hurt in training camp, maybe we should bring in another tackle. They didn't do it.
Because in the end, no matter what else you do, and I know we've been focused on weapons and having the wide receivers, in the end, there's nothing more important on any given snap in the rest of his career than protecting Patrick Mahomes. Period. Yeah. Just job number 1. Yevgeny, thank you. Appreciate your support.
Thank you.
At the end of the day, we made it to the big game 3 years in a row. Very good point. I hope Mahomes uses this as fuel for next year. I agree with you completely, and I think that he will. Spags was awesome as usual. What can Veach do to fix the tackle position for the next few seasons? Well, he's going to have some options because you have to, clear cap space. I think if you don't have 1,000% confidence in Kingsley right now, you have to go sign a free agent tackle. Someone with veteran experience that isn't off the retirement bin. You have to go get somebody who's playable now. I don't know that there's a whole lot out there in free agency. We're going to have to see what happens, and I haven't even looked at the list.
So, first of all, Ronnie Stanley, while he's been injured, this past year was awesome, but you also have to put a asterisk on that because he's been injured every year the last 3 years. So there's that out there, but in terms of guys that are going to come in and start for you, there's nobody. There's no one. Talking about Jedrick Wills is going to resurface in Kansas City because he's going to be a free agent, former first-round pick for the Browns. Probably not going to happen. Alaric Jackson, possibly. But Tyron Smith is the 3rd best available option on the free agent market next year, next to Cam Robinson, who was awful for the Vikings. Let's be honest. The Chiefs don't have many free agent options to bring in and start.
It's going to be a tough one. But I think if you can pry someone away, maybe you have to make a trade. Maybe you just have to make a reinvestment. Now, I'm not sure how the tackle class stacks up here. I do know they tried to make a first-round selection last year. They had to try to move up to do it because of that rush that happened and
then he got hurt. He's not even got hurt. But I'm saying that they wanted to draft a player. I liked him a lot, but he had injury concerns. Yeah. Tons of injury concerns, and it showed.
So you might have even dodged another bullet right there. That is a fair point. My point is that they were making attempts. They're going to have to continue to do that. They're going to have to get old Brandon Beane on the phone. Yeah. Hey, we're going to need a tackle, bro. You trade us every other time. So let's get this thing done.
That man's got the Kansas City area code blocked from now on.
Use the bat phone. I don't care. He'll still go for it if you talk him into it long enough. I think it's a philosophical thing. But Yevgeny, I think that is what it's got to happen. And you have to obviously develop from within as well. So thank you for the support. And thank you, Dub Freak. I know we have drafted well, but I feel we need to be very aggressive this offseason using picks from future years to move up in the generational talent, either to draft in the draft or free agency. If we keep drafting late, we won't be getting better. And that is the rub. That is the hardest part. What they've been able to find, and it did take some trade-ups, is by the Tyree trade made a lot of these moves possible, including Karlaftis and McDuffie, right? So it all feeds in. I don't think they have a talent like that they can trade right now. They don't have another option to move on from that you can recoup draft capital. So you have to be, I think, more aggressive and in the end select less players right now for the next 2 seasons in order to get up to where you can get impact players.
Yeah. They're going to have another third, that early 3rd round pick from the Titans too. Like they're going to have some things that they're going to be able to do. The problem is that after the Chiefs traded up, from to get Patrick Mahomes, that shifted the dynamic of trading up. It just did. And then when you win as often as the Chiefs do, trading up in the 1st round, probably not going to happen very often, if at all, unless you get a desperate team that really wants to, move down and you overpay, which you also can't be doing in this day and age with this team. So it's about picking and choosing your battles. It's about scouting better. It's about finding those 3rd round tackles that are going to turn into starters. Look what the Green Bay Packers have done with their offensive line over the past, decade plus. They churn out like starters on the offensive line in the 3rd round, in the 4th round, in the 5th round. I think the Chiefs need to scout offensive line better, but they also need to be willing to draft players that are big and that they're physical, and maybe they're not the most athletic in the world. They prioritize athletes a little bit too much, which is great. Athletes are awesome, but you also in today's, we just watched them get bullied for 4 quarters. If you can't punch back, you got nothing.
Yeah, there's a mentality aspect to it. I agree with you. I would still rather have the athlete that will punch back than a non, but that is what it is. As far as the future goes, you have to look into that, because I think as we see now, and I did have it in my notes before, I'll just put it back up here because let's not ever forget this. As I'm showing you early pass rush numbers, and this is initial data, right? Yeah. Patrick had 32 attempts. Looks like he was pressured 27 times by the first. So that is roughly running at 85% pressure rate. Unconscionable to be able to get anything done at that point. But what I was getting here is at the end, Fangio broke the streak, and defense still does win championships. So you have to continue to invest in the offense. I know everyone's been worried about weapons. You have to look at it as a whole, and you have to make sure that you're breaking your own tendencies, and that's what the run game's about. I think they have an opportunity here with the salary that Joe Tooney demands, the salary that Juwan Taylor demands. I don't think you can move on from Taylor because there's just not enough viable tackles out there. So I think you're sticking with that. But you're probably not going to pay Trey Smith the $25 million a year that he's going to get. That's just a guesstimate number for me. So you have to reinvest inside, and you have to use those picks to be very aggressive and move up on the outside at tackle, because you can't let this happen yet again for a 3rd time.
Let's be very honest. This season should also make the Chiefs rethink how they viewed the running back position. Now, I know they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 1st round a few years ago. Didn't work out. Okay, that's fine. Maybe not go in the 1st round, but you need to reevaluate the running back position. Kareem Hunt was awesome for what you needed from him. Mm-hmm. Isaiah Pacheco isn't getting it done. He doesn't have the vision, and now he's been hurt every single year that he's played in the NFL because of his running style. I'm not going to get mad about this, but I'm going to tell you guys, I told you when he was drafted, this was going to happen because of his running style. He gets hurt because he is so upright and physical. He has no bounds to run to protect himself. He doesn't care. That's a problem. You have to be able to protect yourself. So they need to do that. They also, again, go back to the offensive line, go back to the well there. But overall, I don't think that there's a ton of real big issues that need to be solved with the roster. The roster is very good. Defense was awesome. Again, I praised what the defense did, what Steve Spagnuolo did. It was awesome. They were just exhausted. And when you get a couple of pinpoint accurate throws from Jalen Hurts, again, tip of the hat to him, just say, that's how we want to live, because they had to force Jalen Hurts to make those throws. And he did. But overall, if the offense executes their part of the game, this might look a little bit different but it didn't.
Yeah, that's very true. Dub Freak, thank you for the support, as always. And don't worry, the offseason starts tomorrow, folks. We're going to be back. Just because the season's over doesn't mean that we are. We immediately shift, and we will have breakdowns for this, for free agency, for the draft. Dan's already done a ton of work. I've started grade systems on some players already. We have the next picks coming. I may just wrap up my quarterback ratings and be done because honestly, I need to devote more time to the tackle class that I haven't seen enough of yet. So that might be shifting priorities here. But Dub Freak, thank you for your support and keep it coming. We appreciate you guys. Great. We're gonna speed up here because we got 2 minutes to get to. Eagles didn't bliss once. It's embarrassing, and that's true. That is tough to see. Minotaur, thank you, buddy. Again, giving out the free memberships so you guys can have a good time here in the chat if you want to upgrade and get the content. And you will have my notes and you will have my holy crap, this is what happened kind of Frank talk this week in the members only area. Go upgrade to rookie and you'll get there and you'll be able to see all that. Thank you, Minotaur.
When my voice comes back this week, we'll get a rant too. I promise you that much.
When it's back on Friday.
Yeah, right.
Alex, thank you, buddy. Mahomes is will remember. Keep hope. There'll be 7. JE will be 7. Okay.
I hope whatever you're drinking, Alex, is pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I wish I had some at this point. Gnarly Marley, I was screaming jet sweep. Yeah, I think they were just petrified. They were petrified to run the ball.
They couldn't also, when they tried to get the ball out to the flats early, the Eagles were doing a really good job of coming down and tackling, which would also lead to you maybe take a jet sweep and then hand it off to your running back to go the opposite way. That never happened once. Did we see a jet sweep then
I don't
from
recall.
fake? Like we saw the orbit motion early, but then it was all like drop back, drop back, drop back, drop back.
Yeah. It was not there. Again, I think they narrowed the play plan up too tight. Too tight. Rampage, thank you. This team is good. Fix a few issues on the line and free safety. Bright side, we got 2 number 1s at this point. That's true. And I know O'Brien, he's had a rough go, but he made maybe the biggest play on defense tonight.
Yeah.
And taking the ball away. So there's ups and downs. And so I'm not ready to cash him in yet.
I'm not trying to toot my own horn again, guys, but Nick Bolton queued up in the A gap. We talked about it on the game plan.
Oh, yeah.
It's like that's like I'm really not trying to like force you guys to buy in because if you've been here long enough, we kind of know what we're talking about. But if you go watch that game plan, we laid this shit out for you. We laid it out. We actually did. And I think that's testament to what we've done this season. I know we've had a lot of people tell us that they appreciate that, which is awesome. And I thank you guys very much for that. But if you feel as you're new, maybe watch this for the first time, go back and watch that and then rewatch this game to say, oh shit, they were right. Like it'd be awesome to see them acknowledge some of those things. But yeah, overall, just get a little bit more creative next time.
Yeah, like you went away from your own tendency of being creative, and maybe they just had it in the script somewhere that didn't get to because honestly they couldn't execute the first 15. And I felt like that punch to the face the first time just threw the whole thing off. Minotaur, thank you. Let's enjoy the moment. We got here, we didn't finish. Let's be ready for another fun off season, fellas. Thank you, Minotaur, and thank you.
Appreciate you, Minotaur.
Thank you for the ray of sunshine because you're right. You got to be able to see what that is. You accomplished getting to another Super Bowl. You were the second best team in this league this year, and you've proven that. That is an accomplishment after, let's see, a 1, a 4, a 2, a 1, a 1, and now a 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, that sounds like a pattern that I will take all day and every day.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Let's keep that up. Thank you, Minotaur Green. Mahomes ran out of clean pockets. Maybe once or twice, I did feel he got a little rattled, but a lot of what I think you're referring to was when they tried to roll him out of pockets and he ran into pressure. And kudos to the defensive ends for both of them, Sweat in particular, who was very not only good at putting pressure, but disengaging.
Yeah.
When there was a rollout, they were able to get off of those blocks and chase Patrick to the point where he ran himself into some contact multiple times.
Exactly. And I think that when we saw the I don't even know how many clean pockets I saw that weren't early in the game when they still weren't just teeing off on Mahomes. Most of it was muddy. A couple of times he tries to run up into the pocket because that was the only way he could escape. There was
Right.
nowhere else for him to go. They were stunting. They were just kind of caving in different sides and looping around. So to an extent, there was maybe one or two that I saw that he was like jittery, but do you blame him?
I don't. There's got to be an element of self-control that goes with those situations. But I don't know. You know, the house full of people tonight, which I usually do for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times they're like, okay, we get it. Stop saying it every play, because every time Patrick dropped back, I was screaming, get the damn ball out.
Yeah.
Because timing was off. It was taking too long. And even the people in the house were like, okay, we get it. He should have thrown that ball by now. Because that's how you equate to defending yourself against a pass rush that is winning constantly.
Yeah.
You have to make that adjustment, Patrick. Daryl, do we already have anybody on the team that can help on the offensive line next year? As far as dropbacks, I don't know. I want to say that Kingsley's a super young kid that can bounce back. But do I know that for a fact? I don't.
No, we don't know. I mean, you can always hope to develop, right? Sometimes I'm not going to make the Eric Fisher comparison because it's not the same, but sometimes you need time. The one place that you're going to get some time is Kansas City because they win. This is not we need to start turning things around. It's now the offensive line, you do have to start turning things around, but you also have to get these guys better, these young players better. You drafted them. Now you have to see what you can get out of them. So I think Kingsley is the one option that you have in-house that you can say, yeah, it was 1 year. We can see what we got going forward for the next 3.
Yeah. And I think from our rankings back in the draft, we knew Kingsley wasn't an immediate day one starter. Neither of us had him there. We knew it was going to take some development. The fact that they derailed his development, I think, is part of the problem. But again, he is a youngish. I mean, just for any tackle that was just drafted. And I do think he's resilient. I think he's got the pedigree to get there. So let's see what he can do.
Just took another point here. You're right. Norzad looked pretty good. I think he is another option as well. Not just for guard, but if you think maybe, I don't know, maybe Creed Humphrey can play better guard than Norzad can, he can give you center snaps too. So that's good call out.
Okay, looks like I'm getting messages about post game with Locked On. So let's get to the next one, and let me text him back.
All right, Zach, now that the season is over, who's gone? Also, who do you want them to draft or pick up in free agency? That's such a loaded question, Zach, and we appreciate this support there, but they need to address the offensive line. They're going to have to bring in some players specifically for left tackle if you don't think that you can get something out of Kingsley, but they also just need to bring in some more legitimate depth. Guys that can do both, that can run block and pass block, because Mike Kendo can't do that. And if you had to see, again, DJ Humphries, who apparently was not okay to play, but okay to be active over a guy like Ethan Driscoll, who maybe can't play, but is on the field, athletic, can play for you because he's not hurt. I don't know. Makes no sense to me.
Fair. We're going to find out. Thank you, Michael. I'm going to speed up lightning round here. Is the O-line coaching issue, or is it just a construction issue? Thank you, LA. I appreciate that. Could just be Andy Heck might be the problem. I can't say that I would say that. I don't think it's a problem in technique. I don't think it's a problem in coaching. I think it's the decision-making about who can and is ready to step up in certain situations where they're not comfortable.
I think it's a little bit of both. Just need to get more physical along the offensive line too.
Fair enough. Adam, thank you, buddy. Would you re-sign Humphries? What do you think, Dan?
No, 0. I'm sorry, you had multiple weeks off. Sorry, buddy. It's the Chiefs need to get younger, they need to get better, and they need to get healthier. They can't keep investing into guys that are hurt along the offensive line. Just can't do it.
If he couldn't play now, or they didn't trust him to play now, I don't know what signing him again is going to do. But if there is some other circumstance, sign everybody you think can help you next season.
Yeah.
Go into it with 10 offensive tackles for all I care. Like overfix the problem is what I would say.
Agreed.
And I just don't know if that's the situation with DJ or Thank you, Adam, and cheers up to you guys up north. If you would have told me Barkley only gets 57 yards rushing, I would have thought the score would be reversed. So frustrating and embarrassing. Sean, you have a very, very good point. Job number one was to stop Barkley, and they did it. And they just weren't able to put points on the board. I never thought that would be the explanation of this game either.
No, me either. Like the script was flipped, like in terms of what we thought would happen. If you did something like that, then yeah, you have a really good chance to win. And it just didn't work. But at the end of the day, that's kind of what you put yourself into.
Yeah. Seems like Trey Smith or Bolton at this point. Gnarly, good point. Probably Smith now. I just can't see him doing it with the investment in Trey and what you're paying Juwan and Joe. I mean, you're talking about putting together, pushing in $80-85 million per year offensive line. I don't know that you can commit to that in any way that keeps you healthy for the future.
I'm not saying it's a mistake because Trey Smith plays some very good football, but let another team overpay him. Let another team overdo it. I'll be the first to tell you, he's an awesome run blocker. He's not very good as a pass protector. He gets beat all the time. He gets held. He's holding all the time. But the biggest problem is that he gets beat around the edge as a guard. You cannot get beat around the edge as a guard. You can't. That is the reason you're at guard. So you don't have to worry about that. But he has to worry about it now. It's not all his fault. Juwan Taylor aids the problem with his over-aggressive snaps, like his sets. So it's a problem that he already gets beat that way that's being compounded by Juwan Taylor's pass sets.
Yeah, and the gap to the outside is what he's trying to compensate for, knowing that he's got Creed, and they generally protect first on the inside and try to take it from there. Knicks fan, I don't think Wally's pass rush was as good, but I like I don't think there's a defense that is that good, for the love of Pat. I think I got some of that, but Knicks fan, I got to tell you, I need to have a beer if I'm going to understand the rest of it.
Yeah, you guys, I'm with you. I actually didn't drink it all for this game in the slightest, but overall, we've said it multiple times. You give the Eagles a ton of credit. They put exactly the game plan that they wanted to put into action out there. Jalen Hurts executed. The defense executed. Like, they did exactly what they were supposed to do. On the defensive side for the Chiefs, they executed for a lot of that for the game plan. The offense did not hold up their end of the bargain, and you can credit the Eagles for some of that. But then you just have to say the Chiefs just leaned into what the Eagles wanted to do.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you, Knicks fan. Thank you, Cody. Good to see you. Tough loss. Terrible showing offensively. Should we bring back Hop and Hollywood? Also, in the second half, why not shift to O-line to Humphrey? And that's exactly the change they didn't make that, again, makes me wonder if Humphreys is just still not healthy. Because otherwise, that's exactly what they should have done. Just say, you know what? Let's make this easier. Sometimes I think they do get in a rut and they're like, well, if you didn't practice there, we're not going to play you there.
Why is he active if he can't play in the game? Why is he active if he can't play in the game? No, that's fundamentally bad coaching. It just is. If you're not going to give yourself the best chance to win a football game because you see your guard getting absolutely pancaked every single game, every single snap, but you say, well, where would we rather have Patrick go? Getting beat on the outside where he can maybe get up and see still, Joe Tooney can play guard a little bit better, defend against Milton Williams better, or just have just the left side caved in every time. I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm. You can't show me on film anything that is going to make me understand that. That was a decision. I don't think that's based purely on film. As far as Hop and Hollywood, I would bring them both back. I think coming up short probably fuels both of them to be a little bit more agreeable to contract size. And I think that could be a very, very dangerous room next year if you get those guys back. At least one of them, I would lean towards Hollywood, but I really like what Hop brings.
Yeah, I think you just overall should have them in the room. I think that they're great for the room. That Andy Reid talked about DeAndre Hopkins and the leader that he is. So, like, that's great to have in a room with some young players that are ascending still.
Green, Vic was 0-8. Those games were close. We overlooked. Even if they were close, it's a consistent at 8. That's enough information for me. This was a failure on the offensive execution, not anything crazy that Vic Fangio did. Kudos to his defensive front. They played very good individual games, but again, that's about the mismatch. I don't think the scheme was the reason any of this happened tonight. Hell of a play from Cooper DeJean. Hell of a play from Sweat tonight. Milton. Jordan
Zach
Davis.
Bond still again.
Yeah.
Zach Bond was a 1-year contract guy that basically the Saints said we don't want you back.
Right.
And look what he did this year. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's nuts. Matthew, thank you. I see there's another one from you, but we appreciate you and thanks for the support.
Thank you, Matthew.
Pickle, is it possible for the Chiefs to cut Taylor and keep Smith? Just remember, we still have Mahomes and Reed. We will be back. And I like that last one. We will be back. I am very, very confident in that. Taylor, I think, would be a -16 cap and would leave you without a tackle because Wanye's not ready. And I don't think Wanye can be a tackle for you going forward. I think that's another downgrade if you chose to do that. So I think they have to write it out with Taylor.
Agreed. I'm also seeing lots of stuff hearing about Brett Veach, guys. Brett Veach helped bring this Chiefs team to 5 Super Bowls. Please, I understand it's frustrating that they lose in the Super Bowl. I understand that, but he's not overstayed his welcome. They made a miscalculation. It happens. Time to go correct it.
I agree.
They're going to be holding on a while. We got lots of super chats, so they're going to have to wait.
Yeah, we are, and we got to get through because I need to get over to our post game with Locked On as well. So, thank you, Pickle. Sorry. Are they going to address the O-line next year? They have to, Matthew. There's no way that they don't. They have to make changes. And I think there's a couple of guys that are going to leave through attrition as well. Hooper, thank you. Good things we have 2 legit wide receivers. Is Bobby and Slowick still free? If he is, he can stay free. I don't need that addition.
I said we need new ideas, not somebody doing the same thing every single game.
Yeah. Variable paths. We went to, thank you, Doctor, and thank you. We went to the game. There were much more Eagles fans. Also, just watching the pregame, it just seemed off. Eagles seemed to want it and super focused. Yeah, I mean, you got to give them kudos. Like, they just walked in and they were ready. So I can't say it was a lack of focus on the Chiefs' part. I think the game plan was off.
Yeah, and when you execute, it helps your confidence. The Chiefs' defense looked pretty confident for the most part in this game. Like, they still played their asses off. The offense didn't click. Like, they didn't. The Eagles did a good job of forcing them to do some of that early on. They don't force them to drop passes. They don't force them to give onto the football because you're trying to throw the ball down the field and not run the football. They don't force you to run the ball 3 times. I give the Eagles a lot of credit for this game. I also understand that the Chiefs helped them out a lot.
Yeah. Dr. Lee, thank you. We appreciate you. Jacob, thank you. Thanks for the support. And always good questions. No O-line change in the game was at this point, along with completely abandoning the run. Could it really have been worse with Humphrey at left tackle and Tooney inside? That's our question too. Unless he's just not capable of playing, in which case Dan is absolutely accurate. If he's not capable of playing, he should be inactive, but he wasn't. So that to me was a lost opportunity. I don't know the details. I think that was a lost opportunity, and I've said that for the last, going on a month, that they ought to put the tackle at tackle and put Joe at guard. I can't say it.
And if they would have done that coming out of the bye week to get to the Texans, maybe he looks way better, and they don't have that big of an issue. It's still probably going to be an issue for him, but maybe you don't have as big of an issue because you don't have 2 problems on the left side. You have 1 problem maybe that you might be able to scheme around.
Gnarly, give me one Miz. Listen, I'm glad you Tiger fans are here, but this Chayok, you're not getting that out of me, buddy.
0.
Was this a redo of the Tampa Bay Super Bowl? Yes, I think that analogy is absolutely accurate. It does not bother me to say that at all. Jacob, thank you again. Mahomes with a true run game will be scary. Abandoning the run tonight was a red flag all season long. And it happened too often, and I thought they had figured out just how important Kareem Hunt was to this offense to at least be able to threaten to move the ball on the ground, but clearly not.
I don't know, man. I don't get it. I
don't either, and I don't know that we ever will. Thank you, Jacob, and thank you, Matthew. It may have been garbage time, but really, really impressed tonight, and his best game as a pro, and I agree with you, and it was multifaceted, multi-roles. Again, Dan.
When you can continue to fight when you're down like that and want to make plays, I don't care that it's garbage time. I don't care at all. That's the kind of mentality you want from young players. not to hang your head on the sideline and say, no, go ahead and put Nico Remigio in the Super Bowl. Go play him. No, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to do my best to make a play. Made multiple plays. Play his ass off.
That's all you can ask. You just keep on growing. Could Rice have made a difference in the Super Bowl? Did the Eagles D take away our quick slant passing game? No, they did not take it away. Those short zones did not, I think, fault the inside game, either of Travis Kelce or the slot receivers in particular. And if you do that, then run an under route underneath a go. Simple way to clear out and get yourself that matchup. It's not hard. They just chose not to do it. Maybe on review, I'll see more than I thought was there originally, but I didn't see it, Dan.
Well, again, we'll find out. I really thought that when you looked at them wanting to play action pass deep early in the game, that was their mentality. It felt like that too. And then when you effectively don't run the ball, you're telling the team that you're playing, we're going to throw it. And they say, fine, that's what we want to do. They didn't have to respect the run, even if they only got 3 yards on those 3 carries. They didn't have to respect you doing anything.
And that's the problem. No threat otherwise. As far as Rice, yes, I do think Rice would have made that inside game more tangible, and maybe they would have stuck with it more or gone to it more, because they didn't throw a slant to the fourth quarter. So I do think that would have made a difference.
Yeah, a little bit.
KB, thank you. What does this do for Pat's legacy? Definitely didn't look like a GOAT tonight. I disagree. I think he's the GOAT right now. I think the guy was under fire all night long. He made some bad decisions. Doesn't change anything about the way I feel about that status.
No, Patrick did not play very well in the first half, in my opinion, when it wasn't going his way. Like, that's not necessarily his fault either. Like, the first parts, some of the drops weren't on him. I thought he was dirting the ball for no reason. But after that, when they abandoned the run, then what's he supposed to do? Then what is he supposed to do? Like, I don't think that this should impact his legacy, but everyone's going to say, well, now you're 3-2 in Super Bowls, and they're just going to ignore the fact that he's been to 5 and he's 30 years, not even 30 yet. So that's what's going to happen. Don't let yourselves fall into it. Understand that what they've done already is one of the greatest things that's ever been accomplished in sports, but also reflect on he can get better. I think Andy Reid can help them in the Super Bowl, and they still have to get better.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Especially, they have to recognize when they need to get more conservative. It's not that you always have to be conservative. It's when you're confronted with that aspect that the defense is kicking your ass, you have to get more conservative and not take those chances. Not put yourself in position to turn the ball over. That's what he's got to get better at. Jamura, thank you. And thank you, KB. Do you see staff changes coming? The whole season felt stale. Is it time to change anything? Or are we bailing on the Nagy with excuses still? I don't know what'll happen. I know there was interest in Nagy. I don't know if somebody will take him off your hands. I don't know that he's the problem, but it doesn't seem like there's enough spark to change it enough for him to be the solution. That's the best way I can put it.
I said what I had to say earlier. I believe there should be whole-scale changes in terms of the buddy stuff outside of Steve Spagnuolo on the offensive side. And they need to do a better job of getting young players that will push Andy Reid a little bit more than what we have seen.
There's an Avery sighting. I blame Reid. Switch Tooney to guard. I think we both would have pulled that trigger as well, especially at halftime. Make a lineup change. Let's try to get this done. Again, we're going to have to find out why that wasn't happening. I know the beat reporters are going to ask some of those questions. I don't know whether they'll get answers, but I know they're going to be pushing for it. Sign Ronnie Stanley, cut Juwan and save money and move someone to right tackle. Is there a left tackle in the draft the Chiefs can really get? Not anybody that's a drastic upgrade over what they have is what I've seen so far. Dan, do you think I'm wrong?
Depending on, again, who falls. I've seen some weird things lately about Ariante Ursary, the Minnesota left tackle, falling. Please, if he does, draft him and prosper, in my opinion. I think you could put Kingsley inside. Again, if maybe Joe Tooney retires, then you just kick Kingsley inside, and there's your left side, because I believe that Ariante is a fantastic player, and he's 330 pounds. He is a 6'5" or 6'6", 330-pound left tackle, and he can move. So, yeah, I think that there are some options depending on who falls.
Okay, fair enough. I like it. Thank you, Peanut. Thank you, Jacob. Another one. Appreciate you. Not saying Bieniemy is the answer, but the offense has truly not looked the same the last 2 years. What needs to change to that? Second, to the fact that the Chiefs made the Super Bowl with blah offensive play is wild and positive for the future. Yes. It's, again, Patrick making up for the changes that aren't happening. I personally agree with you. You don't have to love Eric Bieniemy, but he brings an edge. He gives you something. He gives you some fire that I didn't see tonight. So I would certainly consider it. I think he's probably better for what he's been doing. Running the offense at UCLA, I think that was a positive move for him, and it probably gave him a different point of view, at least somewhat as well. And yes, there are still things. If you can get this all locked down and you get this offense where it's actually humming again, the defense is there enough that you could even fall off a little bit. You could fall 5 places in terms of overall defense and still be a champion.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Just when you don't have your best offensive game plan and then execution in the Super Bowl, it just doesn't help you out. It doesn't look good.
No, and it doesn't make it winnable. Is Kingsley a viable option to right tackle and make Taylor trade bait? No one's going to trade for Juwan Taylor, not at $20 million a year. I'm pretty certain of that. And Kingsley, I think, could play over there if you really need him to, but you need to acquire more tackle talent, not less.
I'm with you. Something interesting I just kind of thought about. This doesn't have anything to do with the question, Jordan, which I do appreciate there about that. But what we've seen from Jalen Hurts on the opposite side, the freedom to change plays. I don't personally believe that Andy Reid allows Patrick to change very much. From what I've seen, I don't really see him outside of saying we're good and like maybe switching a route here and there. He doesn't do wholesale play changes, which I think could help the offense as well.
I'm certainly into more viability there. Let's give it a shot. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, PK. Who do we get to fix this? And do we trade up for a tackle? I don't know who the answer is yet, but trade up for a tackle is definitely something that I'm looking at. I'm pushing all the buttons. I'm calling all my favors in. I got to get up into the top 15.
It's on the board. I'm not sure anyone's going to let you, but it's on the board.
Yeah, exactly. Cody, Leo not in the field in the first half. Was Tranquil a problem? I can't really say that. I did notice Tranquil, he fell off on the big Barkley catch, but I didn't think Tranquil was a problem. And when they were in base, Leo was out there. They did go away from it a little bit in the second quarter, but I didn't feel like that was a causation.
Yeah, but I definitely saw Leo out there multiple times in the first half. So Tranquil was awesome against the run, but he wasn't fantastic in pass defense. Like we've said, it's kind of fallen off since he became that true linebacker in Kansas City. It's not been his best attribute.
And honestly, they miss Willie Gay's athleticism. Let's be
real.
Sean, does Hollywood and or Hop come back? What's your gut tell you, Dan?
I think you'll get one of them. You might not get Hollywood, but I think you'll get D-Hop.
Okay. I'll take it at this point. Do you guys want an Eagles Chiefs? I'd love it because Nick Sirianni honestly rubs me the wrong way in a number of different ways. So I would like to get a little revenge factor myself.
Anybody. I don't care. Don't care who it is.
Okay. Fair enough. Cody, thank you. Tell me I'm not the only one who thought the broadcast was horrible. Hardly any replays, complaining about controversial calls for the Eagles while ignoring the ones the Chiefs had. Congrats, Eagles. Well, good for you for putting it that way. I honestly didn't listen to the broadcast at all. I had it down pretty low, and I had a house full of people. So
I'm also ready to say that Greg Olsen made Kevin Burkhardt good because he's awful. He's terrible when he has to lead. Because he has to lead this. He has to kind of herd Tom Brady, who, no offense, Tom Brady should be behind the scenes doing what the guys at the desks do, because the interview stuff, the podcast stuff that he does is 10 times better than anything he has done on a microphone commentating a game. He shouldn't be doing that. I don't think he's good at it. I don't think that's where his future is either. I think, one, he doesn't want to do it because he wants to be the owner of the Raiders. Like, that's what he wants to do, obviously. But I think he's better interviewing and doing interviews than he is doing this. So I don't care about this stuff anymore. Like I pretty much, since I started to do this myself, I throw them all out. They all suck. They all suck.
And they're all limited. There's a governor on all of them at some point. So I agree with you. I think Tom wants to run that franchise and just kind of take it over, which should be fun for us. If you're a Tom Brady fan, enjoy it while you got him in the booth, because I don't think it's going to be very long. Thank you, Cody. Thank you, Tom. Nice to see you, pal. Was I right? Are the Chiefs the only team that repeated to actually make it back to the Super Bowl? I was told Patriots repeat. and made it back also. No, they lost in the AFC Championship game. Somebody said that the Green Bay Packers did it, but that was the AFL days. In the Super Bowl era, this is the only 3 in a row.
Correct.
And that's what you got to make the distinction on. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jordan. Why can we give out layup Super Bowl, Super Bowl W, but our W's always come down the last few minutes?
And I'll tell you why. I said it earlier. It's because Patrick Mahomes has to fight Andy Reid's game plan every single Super Bowl. Not once has their offense come out on all cylinders. Not once has it happened, ever. I said it, and I'm not going to hide behind this anymore. Like, I don't feel like he does a good job in the Super Bowl for whatever reason. Coming off of buys in the regular season, he's been awesome. Coming off of buys to prepare for a Super Bowl, he doesn't do well.
I'm not sure why that is. Again, I think it's just a general narrowing of the game plan too much. Chief DeLorean, I love that, and I love your avatar. If we lose Tracy Smith in the offseason, don't you think Kingsley would be a good right guard? I think he'd be a better left guard. Generally, you want a little bit more athletic. But yeah, Kingsley can certainly go in and play guard. I'm not worried about it. You put him in a phone booth where he's got guys on both sides of him. He's going to be fine. That still doesn't solve the tackle problem, and that's the bigger issue. I think Norzak could slide into the right guard spot very, very comfortably and not be an issue at all as well.
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest problems he was getting beat were off his left edge, like just around the outside where it was free. So I don't have any issues with him playing guard, and I think you can make that transition pretty well for him.
Tom, you found the answer. Well done, buddy. I knew I was right. The New England Patriots played in Super Bowls, LI through L. That's what, 51 through 53. But sandwich the loss in between the 2 wins. Yes, absolutely. Cheers, Tom. Disappointed, Will, and I'm sorry, and I appreciate your support while you're disappointed. Absolutely. I know that's tough to do even more. Proud of the team for getting 3 straight, but it feels like a wasted season. Left side of the offensive line was a disaster. Failures of this team to adjust make a failure to make history. I agree with you. It feels empty, and I can only feel for those guys that were on the precipice of making that history. That's why so many guys outside the organization that used to be Chiefs were so in favor for them, so pulling for them. That's who I feel for the most.
Yeah, it's tough for these vets. Like, you saw the image of Omenihu on the sideline. Like, he didn't get to play in the Super Bowl last year. Obviously, he still got a ring because he's on the team, but he didn't get to play in it. So it reflects a little bit different, and it hurts more for those veterans that wanted to be a part of it. They got to be on that ride too, and it didn't end the same way.
Yeah. Did McDuffie lose money tonight, Josh Brown? Thank you for your support and your super chat. Maybe just a touch. I don't think anything significant, though.
No, I mean, he was still Trent McDuffie. Like, that's what he was in the positions. But we've said it before. When he's in positions against bigger guys, he's limited. He's limited, and that's what part of the problem with that line of thinking of just put Trent McDuffie on him is that, well, if Jalen Hurts, who's been playing better, makes the pinpoint throws to his bigger receiver, those are going to get completed, and they did, and that was part of the problem. But overall, I don't really think he lost any money personally. He was still very good in this game. More than willing to come downhill, run support, fantastic tackler. Yep. I got no issues with that.
Yeah, 50% completion percentage, targeted 4 times, only gave up 2 catches for 31 yards total. Did force a PBU, gave up no touchdowns. So in the feel of it, it might feel like he wasn't up to snuff, but I think, like I said, just a little haircut off the top. I don't think it was anything significant at all, which, hey, you know what? I'll take whatever we can get. Love your guys' stuff this year. Thank you, Lee. Can't wait to start to start this train again. Not a question, just a thought. Making history is hard, and we wouldn't have a chance without the Hill trade and subsequent draft picks. And you nailed it, Lee. Would not be in this position if it was not for that trade. I know Tyreek seems to regret it. The Chiefs don't.
They shouldn't either. The only thing I'll say is that they did invest, obviously, in cornerback and defensive line. They didn't invest in tackle in that draft. Like, they have not really used some of their trades to invest in the offensive line. And it's starting to show up when you don't have faith in your guys to come in and play backups and you don't have that depth. Like, they wouldn't be here without that trade because they did get them a cornerstone player. And then George Karlaftis, who, for everything that we said about him, was pretty good in the postseason. Effort, fantastic, is all there. But he also showed why I was a little hesitant about him, is because he doesn't win fast. And this is a great offensive line. Great offensive line with Philadelphia. Hard to beat Lane Johnson, who is playing at a ridiculous level. At his age, I've never seen something like that. So I'm not going to give him a ton of crap for it. But overall, what you see is a team that is constructed around Chris Jones winning quickly and forcing guys into their guys that win late, which isn't always the best functionality.
No, you want a full pressure attack. Thank you, Lee. Appreciate you. Last call for Super Chats, folks. We're going to wrap it up here in a minute. We'll be back next year better than ever. Thank you, Jesus. I appreciate you and your optimism. We need some of that tonight. Jacob, thank you yet again. I didn't like our coaching on the offensive side tonight. Mismanaged for sure and wasn't willing to make changes. I think the D played exactly how they should have. I agree with you. And I do think they got wore down and they gave more plays than they wanted to and that I wanted them to. But I do think that was a function of the way that the offense did not function. And Jacob, another one.
I'm with you.
Dan, that was my feeling the whole game. I was scratching my head and questioning a lot.
Yeah,
agreed.
Man, it's tough. You're really in here supporting us a lot, man. I appreciate you very much.
Yeah, you are on a roll, Jacob, and we very much appreciate you. Don't let this be the end, folks. We're going to break down the film. We're going to get back at it. We're going to start talking about who can fit in this team in the draft and free agency and moving on. This isn't the end of the season. This is just the pause as we start the next season. It does start tomorrow. Jacob, Mahomes, Worthy, Kelsey, D-Hop, competitiveness, and heart showed a lot with the hard effort at the end of the game when they knew they weren't winning. I agree with you. There was no quit in this team, not at all. And that's something you can be proud of, and they should be proud of as well.
Yeah, no offense to DeAndre Hopkins, but if this is how you're going to talk after the game, I don't want you back, buddy. There's a lot of touchy calls. Are y'all going to report that? Are y'all going to talk about the refs now? Come on, man. Don't be it.
Don't go there.
You lost way before a ref did anything in this football game, and they never have impacts on football games. Okay, in my opinion, it all comes out in the wash. So let's just be what it is. I know you're a little emotional right now. Just think about it. Come back later. Just realize that the refs had nothing to do with it. My guy, please.
Yes. Come on. Who would be a casualty for us to fix the offensive line? I don't think you can jettison anyone at the tackle position and live to tell a better tale. So obviously DJ's on a 1 year, so I wouldn't call him jettisoning it. If you choose to bring him back, that's a different story. I'm worried that Joe Tooney might retire and that you can't afford Trey Smith. And that your elite interior three could get degraded real fast.
The problem is, I think this is more about maybe trading somebody on the current roster for an offensive line.
Oh, gotcha.
Possibly tagging and trading. I mean, somebody in this your line, maybe Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton is going to have. I don't know if he's going to have a robust free agency. The only problem here is if you have an in-house, say you have an in-house guard, say you think you're going to put Kingsley at right guard, Norris at right guard, tag and trade Trey Smith. That's what you should do. The Chiefs should look to try and tag and trade him because he's going to be off on the open market and get paid $20 million probably, because that's a team like the Patriots will be looking to do that. Maybe you can tag and trade him for some good assets from those Patriots to try to reinvest in your offensive line.
It's a solid idea. I'll be interested to see what that looks like. I got to run that number as well.
Yeah.
Martine, nice to see you. Thank you for being a member. Hit your 6-month mark. Sorry we didn't get your Super Bowl win, but thank you for being with us and being one of our members. 21 for 32, 247, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Not bad for 60% pressure rate. Yeah, if you just didn't give up those 2 turnovers, that's survivable. I agree.
It's just the picks, man. Just picks in the offensive line, man.
Don't give the damn ball away. Number one thing that we say pretty much every week: don't give the ball away. Duffy's major weakness is his height. I don't necessarily agree. I think it's more that like the arm length. He is smaller, but he's still 6 foot. I mean, 5'11" something anyway. I think he came in 5'11", 5'8", something like that. So I wouldn't say it was necessarily. It's the total length that he can sky. Yeah. AJ's got pretty good arm length as well, and AJ's a bigger dude. So like that was a tough matchup we knew going in.
Yeah, it's just the wingspan, man. He just doesn't have the wingspan.
Tom, I watched the team lose an early playoff game, not even to get to the big game. This is the golden days of the Chiefs. End of the day, always proud to be a Chiefs fan. Now let's fix that O-line. I like you, Tom. I appreciate you, and you have the right attitude. Keep it coming. We're going to end with Jacob. That game was won in the trenches, and you are absolutely right. That's where it came down to. And Doctor, I love you. You always got to sneak one in on me. But you're right. And if they fix that, they'll be right back in this ballgame next year. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Dr. Layla. Sorry. Justin Reed is already saying his goodbyes. Do you think we bring him back? Also, Eagles fans were just so nasty tonight. Win with class. I don't pay attention to the other fans. Haven't to this point. But if Justin's already like calling it an end, I feel terrible for him because I would have loved to see him go out with 3 straight. But he is one of the guys that I said 6 weeks ago that of the free agent class, he was a maybe that you had to watch.
Yeah, and unless he's willing to take less to stay in Kansas City, which I don't think he is. I think he's still playing good football. He played good today, in my opinion, too. I think he played very well. And you see him all around the offensive line. He was everywhere. He was doing a fantastic job in this game. And so I think he wants to stay in Kansas City, but we'll see how that ends up working out. I don't care. Say what you want. Talk your shit. Fans, let them be fans. Just fans. It's the fan part. Just let them talk their shit. That's fine. It is what it is. If they keep going and keep yapping, fine, kick them out here. But whatever. I don't care. They lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl 2-3 years ago. They won when they came back. Good for them. Let them have it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, folks. I have not been monitoring the chat very well.
I've been trying.
Okay. Well, you're doing better than I am. Got one last from Teddy. Worthy 8 for 8. Got to get him the ball next year. Absolutely. They definitely will.
Absolutely.
And Liam shoot, or let me shoot. We all take losses. It's about getting back up and coming back. And you are absolutely right. And we are going to do that. We'll be back tomorrow with more Q&A like we always are on Monday nights. That happens year round. Unless there's a holiday on a Monday. If it's Christmas Day, we'll take the week off. Other than that, you're going to get a Q&A from us on Monday nights at 7 Central like we always do. So make sure that you're here. I'm going to go be live, I believe, over on Locked On Chiefs here in a minute. So make sure you come check us over there. We got to get some water.
Better man than me.
Oh, well, hey, we'll see how it goes. We will also have our normal content, breakdown of this game, starting to look at free agency. That is the next shoe to fall, and we have a lot to go over. So, Dan, feel better? Hug the little one for me.
I feel fine. That's the thing. I feel fine, but my voice is just like, hey, we're just going to go away. When you're supposed to talk for an hour and a half tonight, we're just going to have you not have that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll leave you be, so hopefully you can talk tomorrow night.
I'll just say this before we leave, guys. Enjoy it still. Like that's the main thing. It's tough to get back to this point year in and year out. Most teams can't do it. The Eagles were able to do it. That's a credit to them to realizing that they mismanaged 2023. They reevaluated and got it right.
Yep.
That's what you have to do now. You got to look in the mirror and say, what did we do wrong? Go back and correct it. Okay? You have to correct it now. But don't be super mad about this. That was one of the benefits, I think, about seeing Patrick throw that pick in the first half. I could deal with it then. I knew they were going to lose the game then. So I'm reflecting. I understand that it sucks to see your team lose in that game, a situation like that, but enjoy what you're watching now. Because in 11 years, maybe, you might not have it anymore. Right?
Maybe.
Just take what you got.
We're going to have a good time with it. Join us tomorrow. Thank you for being here tonight. Tough pill to swallow. The sun rises tomorrow. Check out the store if you want our newest creation coming tomorrow. Have a good one.